Today there was sort of a random project that ended up happening. A lot of times I start filming things and then I have no idea what's going to happen and the video morphs into something else. So we're going to be working on the omegatrac today. It's that old Tech Corporation chair. I'm sure a few of you are aware of it, but it's been sitting around, doesn't get used much, mostly because of the leg rest that it has. So we're going to attack that thing today, try to get some different leg rests built for it, and then hopefully it'll be a lot more usable. It's just something I have in the fleet and I never really hop into it because it's really a pain to operate and mess with. So I think this should be good. I'm going through the garage and trying to get rid of stuff that I haven't touched in years. Got a couple chairs that I'm parting out. Also trying to make room for some more. There's a few different people that are giving me other chairs as well. A lot of them are going to be for parts, but yeah. So that's the plan today. It's going to be sort of a medium-long build video, and hopefully you enjoy. Well, today I'm sitting in the C300 again. This is the one we modified a few weeks ago to use as a backup chair when the Quantum is constantly in the shop. But today I'm sitting in it again because the forefront has broken itself again. So it's sitting over here in the corner. And if you notice the angle of that rear caster wheel, the chair is currently not usable because the rear caster tires won't swivel. Something happened with the bearings on the forks and they're trying to seize up or something, but they don't turn. And when they don't turn, it means you can't steer. And when you try to get through hallways and doorways and your caster wheels don't move, you end up putting holes in the walls. Not quite sure what happened here, but this thing does not want to rotate. It will a little bit, but then it catches and stops. And also the issue with the brakes not holding it still when on ramps and hills has gotten significantly worse. It's kind of a guessing game at this point if I'm on a hill and I try to stop in this thing as to whether the chair will actually be able to come to a complete stop or not. But in other news, we've come up with a long-term solution for this chair. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it. All I can say is there's lawyers involved now. So at some point, not sure how long it's going to be, hopefully sooner than later, our issues will be solved with that thing. But anyways, let's head out into the garage. We've got a few things on the agenda today, one of which is this omegatrac here. I was working on the air ride system on it. This little box down here has an air compressor and some valves and stuff in it. I was having issues with the rear airbags on it not wanting to inflate, and the front ones occasionally wouldn't deflate. It turns out there's some little solenoid valves in there that just got a little bit crusty, and I was able to fix that. I actually filmed a clip of that, I think maybe a month or so ago now. Yes. So since I've been sitting here with my finger in my nose and not going outside, I've been playing around with this omegatrac. I had an issue with the air compressor on it. This is the air compressor box right here. There's a little pump and a bunch of solenoid valves and stuff. But the rear airbags were not pumping up on it. So let me see here. I think now I've got it sorted. So that's the front airbags there. You can see those going up and down fine. And then the rear ones, it turns out one of these little solenoid valves was just sticky. So I sprayed a bunch of silicone lube throughout the entire system, which actually that silicone stuff is good for the airbags. It's sort of a bag balm's not the word. What's it called? It's the stuff that truckers use on their vehicles to prolong the life of the airbags. Anyways, it's similar to the silicone stuff. But now our rear airbags work. So they're actually taking air now. And the air goes back out just fine. So I think we're good to go on this. Those rear airbags had an issue ever since I got this chair like 7 years ago. So kind of nice to fix that. I don't recall ever taking apart that airbox before, but yeah. Kind of a cool old chair again, piece of museum history or whatever. I do use it occasionally to run around the yard. This thing is so huge. So I need to get that little box remounted underneath here. And then also, I found the stock leg rests for it. These are the individual articulating ones, and it does have power legs. But in my case, I don't need the power elevating legs to work. And I think it's going to be easier just to kind of hard mount them. I might also connect the two separate foot plates together into sort of a central foot plate, but we're gonna pull that thing out. I'm gonna get that air box or the air compressor solenoid box remounted and then see what we can do with the leg rests. And then also, over here in the corner buried, which you can't see at the moment, there's some sort of Invacare TDX chair. I mentioned it in a previous video, but I think we're gonna part that thing out, and I'm gonna recycle the frame on it, just because I would rather be able to put some more shelves and things in that corner, and I'm not gonna be repairing that chair. That was just one of those ones I found for parts and in a dumpster area. There's a lot of usable stuff on that, and it's always handy to have seating parts and components and things like that around. Oh, also, just remembered, I need to make room. I'm getting another chair from a friend as well that I'm also gonna be parting out. So we've got an influx of chairs with motors, controllers, and seating parts and stuff. We need to make a little bit of room in here. Plus, it would be nice to have a little bit more space in here. I mean, we've got this aisleway here, but yeah, the more things I can get rid of and consolidate, the better. So the batteries on this thing have been charging overnight, so let's go ahead and unplug. It's not a one-handed thing. Let's unplug this charger. There we go. And we're gonna get some of this stuff moved so we can pull that thing out of here and reorganize a few things. The thing with this chair is it had fenders and plastics and a bunch of stuff on it. I wound up cutting all that stuff off, right? Whoops. I wound up cutting off all the plastics right after I got the chair, like, I don't know, 7 years ago or whenever it was. So there used to be kind of a plastic tray that integrated with the fenders here and this air compressor box sort of mounted down to it. So what I did instead was I put this piece of Unistrut, it's not Unistrut, it's more like a Simpson tie, and basically just zip tied everything on here. And on the back side, you can't really see it, but there's sort of a metal mounting plate back here. So this thing's all mounted up now. And if we turn on the compressor, let's see if we're getting any rattling. Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. So our front airbags seem to be working fine. We can pump them up and down. Let's check the rear ones. They don't have nearly as much travel. Might not be able to see it, but there's a tiny bit of movement there. I changed the width of this thing originally. The tires were, or the wheels were flipped around the other way, and I also mounted these center portions here on the outside of the wheel. The offset used to be flipped the other direction, and these are mounted on the other side, and it made the chair super wide. Now, these tires are foam filled, but it's really old and crusty. So I think these are definitely causing an issue with the amount of like forward speed it has. Now they're good for traction, don't get me wrong there. But yeah, I might see about getting some different tires for this, maybe some different wheels. I narrowed it up originally because it was wide enough that it was really difficult to get onto a lift and move around and everything. Let's see if we can get the leg rests sorted out now. These have individual actuators here that go in and out, one on each side. And the leg rests mount down in here. And then those little actuator pins that stick out interface with these little like metal cup things and then sort of move the leg rests up and down. I know for a lot of people the independent side mounted leg rests work really well, but in my case I'd rather have a center mounted leg rest. And come to think of it, I think I might actually have an extra one around here somewhere. It would be cool to mount that up, although it will add a lot of weight to the front of the chair. Regardless, I think I'm just going to try and get these things back on there, and then we're going to kind of modify them and tie them together so it's one solid footrest, because I don't personally need them to swing out of the way. And I don't think these ones did that originally. I'm not sure. There's a bunch of different versions of these chairs, but yeah, I'm going to screw around with that, and then I will show you the progress in a little bit. Actually, I just remembered, we should probably use the executive decision maker here to figure out, should I clean the garage today? And an official result is sit on it. Oh, that's great. That's, what movie quote is that from? I actually use that phrase quite a bit. I'll have to figure that out.
You wish, because I'm never sitting on it, ever.
That's not what I heard.
So here's how the factory leg rests look on this thing. I think I'm going to take these off. They tend to kind of flop around quite a bit. And while they do keep your legs from falling backwards off the foot plates, I think it might be easier just to put in one of those heel straps or something back here to keep your legs from sliding off. So I'm going to remove these because anytime I try to touch these leg rests, I wind up pinching myself somehow with all of these mechanisms. Yeah. so it definitely looks a lot more plain. I might see about flipping some of this hardware around, and I've got some extra center-mounted footplates from another project, so I might add a bar across here or something. Yeah, we'll figure out something here, because this... Yeah, I don't really like that. They kind of bounce out when you hit bumps and things. Okay, so digging through all my parts, I found some other leg rests that have this hardware. And what I'm going to be able to do is slide that into some mounts that are on the bottom of this and make my own static center-mounted footplates. So basically this piece, obviously flipped around the other way, is going to slide in down here on each side. Something like this. And that's going to create a nice mounting surface to put one of these footplates on. By the way, this thing had one of the most stuck bolts I have ever encountered. See right here by my little finger how there's a bolt that's chopped off? I started off using hand tools. Then I used WD-40 and a hammer. Then I used the torch. Then I got out the Knipex pliers. Didn't work. So then I fired up the compressor and got the cutoff tool. As seen here, this kind of didn't exactly work. I mean, it did, but it didn't get the bolt completely off because after I got the ends of it chopped off, it was still stuck firmly in here. So then I got out the Matebo grinder and just really went nuts on this thing and was able to slide it out of there with the little bits of bolts still attached. So, yeah, that was a thing. So I've got one more of these things. This bolt right here came out pretty much without incident, but it was this one here that, well, yeah. So we're going to try and take this one apart. I'm probably going to soak it with WD-40 first and let it sit for a while before I try that, because I don't want a repeat of those events. Okay, we've got our parts here now, and the idea is to slide one of these into each side here, like so, and then I'm going to have to make a little connecting piece that joins these in the middle, and then I think what we'll be able to do is put a mounting plate on here and then stick one of these center mounted foot plates on. I'll have to work out how exactly I want to do that. I've got a couple different styles here. There's this one, and then there's this guy here. I think this one might be a little bit easier to modify because it already has some mounting holes and it already has a stop here built in. Whereas this one would require a little bit more fabrication. Oh, wait a second. I think I have the part for that. Well, nah, that one's not going to work any better anyways. But yeah, so I'm going to work on getting these things mounted up like this. There's one small hole back here that goes all the way through. This isn't quite long enough. What I'm probably going to do is pop these wheels off, cross drill another hole through there, and a hole through these. These will be able to go in here like this and be held level or rigid. You can even just put a pin in there. It doesn't really need to actually hold that much. But anyways, that's the plan for right now. And I think it'll make this thing a lot more usable for me. Trying to drive this chair that won't go straight out into the garage. Come on. This is bad. My back started hurting so much in the C300 I had to get back into the forefront. Okay, so I've been out here looking at the omegatrac, and I got to thinking the way I was going to mount the foot plates, they're not attached to the seating, so if you tilt, your legs would come up off of the foot plates, which isn't necessarily too big of a deal because I don't really need to use it for positioning, seating, or anything like that. But then I got to realizing I've got more chairs in here than I thought. There's an old TDX SI1 back here, and it's got the Motion Concepts power leg rests. So I mocked them up on this thing. And as you can see, they stick out a long way in the front. Now granted, they're not retracted all the way. This gap right here would be closed, but still, that's like a good 16, 18 inches hanging off the front of the chair. This seating system is designed to be mounted underneath the seat pan. On this chair over here, the way it was mounted, it was actually clear back here behind these front rails, and the seat pan comes over the top of it in the front. While I do really like these leg rests as far as functional leg rests go, that's not going to work. I mean, look how long this is. But my plan was before to put 2 of these down here, one on each side, and then mount leg rests to that. But the problem is when the chair tilts back, your legs get further away. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So I think what I'm going to do is press forward with mounting something down here on the bottom of the chair. Now the charging port, the fuses, and the main controllers are behind this panel. It's plastic. It seems to be fairly resilient, so I might have put a cover over it just to keep it from getting kicked and stuff. But I think that's going to be the route to go, is to just use one of these flip down footplate pans and attach it to some bracketry that I make down here. I'm going to keep screwing around with this, and then when I make a little bit more progress, I will update you guys. Okay, I think I have figured out a way we're going to do this. So this is the footplate, we're going to use. This part goes right on here through this hole, and it's got this bracketry here that's designed to attach to the front of one of the chairs that has van seating on it. What I'm going to do is we're going to bend this metal so that these 2 parts are 90 degrees, sticking up like this and like this. And then we're going to use these holes with some D-clamps. And essentially what's going to happen is these bars are going to go between these 2 holes here, and the D-clamps are going to go over the top of these, which will lock them on here. Now, D-clamps are not real good at rotational load, so what I'm going to do after I get those in and get everything all lined up and ready to go, I'm going to drill an anti-rotation hole in the middle here and also through this bar. There are some pre-existing holes on this, but they're on the wrong side. So basically we'll just cross drill, put a pin through there, these will be clamped on, and that'll keep this whole thing from rotating. But first off, we're gonna bend this thing. I was trying to figure out the best way to do it because I don't have a press brake. This thing lines up right about like this, and these 2 holes are clear of everything. So I'm going to bend right along these holes on each side, and that's gonna make it a lot easier to bend. What I'm gonna do though is mark this and then use a cutting wheel to basically score this and make the bend a lot more predictable. Because this is some pretty heavy gauge steel that's fairly springy. And if I just try to bend this, there isn't really a way to predict where along here it's gonna bend, and it might warp at an angle or not be a very sharp bend. So I'm basically gonna notch through here and give it a guide to bend along. And then worst case scenario, since we're probably gonna be removing material, I can run a bead of weld along there to strengthen it up. This footplate was in a box of parts that I got, so there's no reason for me to hang on to this. But yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do here. Okay, that actually worked out really well. My only concern was that this metal might crack. But yeah, it's relatively straight, and I think this is going to work great. So now, this is basically going to sit in here like this. Actually, it'll sit in here like this, and we've got plenty of clearance for the foot plates to swivel up and down. It's basically going to clamp on like this on the back side, but we're going to have one of these on each side, and basically it's gonna mount like that. And then this piece, oh wait, this is the wrong one. This is actually the part. Pretty similar, but it's gonna go right in here. And then we're gonna trim the length of these down so we can have two of them, one on each side. And I'm probably going to cut a piece to slip over the top of both of these just to kind of hold them together. So I'm gonna get these fixed up and then I'll show you the progress. Oh yeah, this is gonna work out great. All right, cool. Well, all I need to do now is run to the hardware store and pick up some D-clamps. I thought I had some, but they were kind of an odd size. So, I mean, I could drill all the way through, but then I would have some weird balancing issues, like it would try and swing like that. I could add something else down here, but then that involves drilling through more stuff. So I think actually we can get rid of this plug here. Well, this rubber thing's gonna come off, and then yeah, so we are well on our way. All right, just got back from the hardware store, and they happen to have in stock exactly what I needed. By the way, they're called U-bolts, not D-bolts. Whatever. As with most of these things, though, when they're manufactured, they're in a little bit of a sprung shape, where this part is wider than down here. So as you can see, when we try to line it up with the holes, it's really close, but not quite. So we're going to use our friendly neighborhood vise here and straighten these out. Keep from messing up the threads, we'll put the nuts on here and then just give it a little squeeze. Safety squints engaged. And a little more. This stuff's a little springy, so you usually have to go a little bit past where you want it, and then it springs back a little bit. There we go, that looks better. Now, in theory, oh yeah, look at that. Perfect fit. Nice, that'll do. Actually, I'm just noticing here, the threads leave quite a bit of space up here, and that may not leave enough room to actually clamp our bar in there, so we might have to run some spacers. But anyways, I'm gonna play around with this a little bit, and actually I'm gonna go outside and get some food first, then we'll come back out and pick up where we left off. There's some straight up just reflexive drilling. I think it might be time to rebuild these old NiCad battery packs. They seem to go dead pretty quick, or maybe the voltage drops. They still seem to have capacity. They'll run when they're dead for ages, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, all right, let's get some of these shavings vacuumed up. I just went ahead and drilled all these holes out a little bit, just so they would fit in there a little bit easier. We ran out of threads right there, so we've only got about this much to clamp with. And I don't think that's gonna be enough. So what I might do is get some larger nuts that fit over this and use those as spacers so we can get this thing further in. but yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, more random thoughts. So there's a couple of ways we can install these. This is the spacer piece in the middle. So we're gonna have 2 of the clamps on this and then 2 of them on these pieces on the outer edge here. There's a couple of ways we could do this. We could sink it in this direction, and then obviously the curve is sticking up here, but this little flat plate would kind of bend and conform to this. I don't think that would be as strong. The other way we could do it is flip them around like this. Oh, actually I like that better already. Yeah, we're gonna do it that way. We may potentially have to cut these threads off because they stick out so far, but yeah, after looking at it, that's definitely the way to go. Because attempting to do it the other direction, while this thing will kind of flatten and stretch, it's not going to be anywhere as strong as doing it the other way. So, all right, let's get this mocked up. All right, so this definitely looks a little goofy, and I think welding this is probably going to be the route we want to go, because the way things are being clamped, I mean, I guess I could tighten these middle parts enough so it smashes this flat, because right now this goes in here. See how this is sort of pointing down? It's because it's clamped here, and then as it's clamping there, it's pivoting on the bottom of this blue part and tilting the whole thing down. If I tighten this enough so that this actually bends a little bit, I think we might be good. But I'm gonna get a Sharpie. Oh, there's one right here. I'm gonna mark this all out with a Sharpie, and then I think we're gonna take a look at welding this. But this is the general idea. So the thing goes in here like so, and then our foot plates are going to, oh, yeah. See, all of that's in the way, all of these bolts. But basically it's gonna hook on like this. Yeah, even these bolts are gonna be in the way. So yeah, I think the way to go is gonna be to weld this. So I'm gonna get this all marked out and then see if we can't just zip this whole thing together. It looked a little different in my mind. That's insane. Okay, first step of the welding is done. We've got that center blue part, well, not blue anymore, welded to the bracket that we bent. One small issue, I may have forgotten to put on my welding sleeves again. It's looking fine right now, but I have a feeling that I may have gotten more arc flash or arc burn on this arm. We'll see how that is in the morning, but I'm just feeling at the temperature with my face. Doesn't seem to be happy. So we're waiting for parts to cool. Then we're going to measure, and we're going to get those little end pieces put in there. Just stick a little booger weld on the end. Come back in here, measure it, make any adjustments if necessary, and then zip the whole thing together. Still a little bit on the hot side. It actually went together a lot better than I thought. I couldn't find my miniature wire wheel attachment for the drill, so I just kind of scratched a couple spots of paint off and then just blasted through it with the welder. The first side is a little bit interesting. The second side, though, I actually got some decent welds, but regardless, it's not insanely structural. It's just holding your legs, and I think we should be good. So we've got the rough concept here all laid out. This is essentially what we're looking at. We've got the 2 bars here, the center plate, and I've just marked out where they're supposed to be. But this is going to sit on here about like that, and it'll be able to flip up and down. Got some marks on here. I'm gonna go back out into the driveway. I'm gonna just barely tack the corners of this on. We're gonna come back in here, make sure it fits. And as you can see, there's a little bit of wobble in this. So we're gonna get everything all straightened out, double check that it still fits, and then we'll just zip the whole thing together. I keep saying zip, weld, whatever. We're gonna make the multiple pieces of metal turn into one, and then we'll be good. Okay, it's been welded up and it's sitting in the chair. I'm just kind of waiting for the paint to dry at the moment. But this is our bracket. Without using those clamps, it does look like something's just kind of stuck on there, which actually I guess it is. If I wanted to get fancy, I could trim some of this metal out, but to be honest, this is going to work fine. We're just waiting for the paint to dry right now, and then once that's done, we can jam this guy on here, and we will have foot plates that will flip up. And like I was saying before, for me on the omegatrac, it'll be nice to not have the giant leg rests that stick out. These ones here. And then also, I'll be able to remove these mounts as well, and also these actuators here that used to let the legs tilt. We're not height adjustable anymore, but that's fine. I'm not sitting in this thing all day. And also when you tilt, obviously your legs are going to get further away from the leg rest, but I think for the time being right now, it's at least going to make it more usable, and I don't have to get out those foot plates and worry about pinching my fingers and all that stuff. So yeah, it'll make it into a usable thing I can just hop in, go run around if I want to, and yeah. All right, I think we're pretty much done. Here we have an omegatrac, and it has these convenient foot plates right here that just flip down. Ta-da! Now, I do still need to drill the holes here and put some mounting pins in, because this thing is just kind of sitting in here at the moment, but it will work for now. I'm gonna have to jack the thing up and take the wheel off, and it's gonna be a little bit more screwing around. I don't necessarily want to do that right now or even in the next couple of days, but I almost spilled my coffee. But as you can see, nice foot plates out front. It does stick out a tiny bit further than these independent ones did, but it's a lot more central. Having something sticking out over here versus in the middle makes it a little more difficult to maneuver. Now, I don't use this thing indoors at all, so what is that? Oh, it's just a shadow on the cushion. I don't use the thing indoors at all, but it will be nice now. I can remove these mounts. There's just a bunch of bolts that hold these on, so I can take these off of each side. But yeah, I think this is a fairly elegant solution, as it were. And it's gonna make it so I can just hop in the thing and use it whenever I want. So yeah, that'll do. All right, so omegatrac's good to go. I apologize I don't have any footage of me actually using it. I did figure out though that even though the foot plates are mounted to the base of the chair and the chair does tilt, when I first hopped into it, the leg rests seemed like they were pretty short, but then I realized all I had to do was tilt the chair back a little bit, since I do normally run around with a bit of tilt on my chair, and then they were the perfect length. So yeah, that works. Someone told me it was Halloween, and I think when you're a normal person, you're supposed to go hang out with friends and stuff, so I'm finishing up editing this thing at a friend's place and uploading it from here, so we'll have to do without the footage of me using it. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more stuff with the omegatrac in the future, since I can't actually use it now. I will be using it in the future now. But anyways, yeah, hopefully that was interesting, and I'll see you guys in a few days.